Good afternoon, golf friends, and welcome to my webinar series, Tuesday Traces. As you know, the purpose of this webinar is to show how the V1 pressure mat is used by some of our most advanced industry partners. Okay, so the purpose of this webinar is to show how the V1 pressure mat is used by some of our most exceptional industry partners. Tonight, we are live from the Carolinas where it is a freezing 40 degrees. I am looking for new pressure mat clients, definitely in Hawaii or Bahamas or Curacao for me to hand deliver and train mats to. Mike is going to come and help me train all those folks in the beautiful warm countries because it's too cold in South Carolina and North Carolina today. Welcome to all the folks that have registered and have joined us via the Zoom webinar. And welcome to everyone that's tuned into our Facebook Live channel. We record these webinars. They will be available on our YouTube channel in a few days when my amazing marketing team, who works their tails off, finishes editing my cuss words out and gets it prepared for YouTube. We love answering questions. I love chatting with the audience. Please do not hesitate to put comments or questions in our chat window. My girls will help us get to all of them. And Mike and I, if we don't answer them tonight, we'll do our best to get back to you via email tomorrow. If you don't know, if you're new, V1 is a sport. V1 Sports is a 25-year-old company. We are the leader in delivering video analysis and instruction solutions to golfers and golf instructors around the world. Our amazing development team is leading the industry with software integrations, including BodiTrak, Foresight, and lots of others on the way. Please also go check out our V1 Coach and V1 Game app. They're spectacular. If you're a coach, you're going to love the coach's data. And if you're a player, the V1 Game is a automatic shot tracking app that will blow your mind. I am Mandy Von See. I am the regional sales manager for V1 Sports based in the Low Country in Charleston, South Carolina, just a few hours from Mike Sullivan in North Carolina. I absolutely love my job and my team and putting this technology in the hands of golf instructors. I'm absolutely thrilled to welcome back North Carolina neighbor Mike Sullivan to Tuesday Traces. Thank you so much, Mike, for being here.
Thank you for having me. Can you hear me okay now? Is that better?
We can hear you. It is so much better. And
okay,
you and I were talking earlier about how you're absolutely one of the most hardest working golf pros in the industry. Did you teach all day today?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, if you can call that work, right?
Well, yes, but don't say that yet because I have your favorite quote pulled up and I want to tell the audience because you and I share that same love of our job and I want to mention that. Okay, a little bit about Mike Sullivan. He began his golf career in 1997 at the Tuscaloosa Country Club in Winter Springs, Florida. Mike is very experienced in working with men, women, juniors, retired golfers, and professionals. He spent many years attending PGA Tour events, providing swing analysis to corporate golf clients, including tournaments at Pebble Beach, Augusta, the US Open, and the PGA Championship. Recently, Mike has been reaching golf students all over the world through the internet. His YouTube videos receive over 1 million views per year, and his clientele of students he assists through online swing analysis is growing at an exponential rate. I'm really proud of our industry. Golf is one of the things that we can do right now, and Mike is absolutely killing it. If you would like a golf lesson, I highly recommend that you connect with him through the V1 app and get a lesson. The last time that he hosted with us, we got to see how he uses the pressure mat in the mobile setting with his iPad and V1 Pro. You're going to see that again tonight. Thank you for your patience as we worked out the audio. But just so everyone knows, so Mike is working with a mobile setup. He is standing on a mat that is connected to that iPad that you see in the bottom left corner via a Bluetooth, a Wi-Fi connection. So the reason that we're not seeing that iPad is because obviously it's connected via Wi-Fi to the mat. So Mike's got a cool setup. This is a really nice way to see the pressure mat because we can see Mike's pressure. Obviously he's standing on it. If he moves, you'll see that pressure mapping data move around. But it's also cool because there's no cables. So Mike can take that mat out on his range or anywhere in his studio. You'll see him moving around all over the place. So I'm really proud to have this particular visual with Mike because it is the mobile setup. The quote that I like to talk about when I talk about Mike Sullivan is find the Mark Twain quote that says, find a job you enjoy doing and you will never have to work a day in your life. Absolutely the way I feel about my job. Mike, tell me about your job. What's going on with the golf world? I know you love it. I know you're like crazy, but What do you think
Well,
about this?
geez, things are unbelievably great right now. I just want to make sure that you can hear me okay.
We
I
can
put
hear
in
you
some new
great. Your
things.
voice,
Okay, great.
you're not very close to the screen, but you look great, but your voice sounds clear. So it's perfect.
Okay, so it's all working out great. Okay, so golf in the United States anyway seems to be going unbelievably well, right? I mean, there are so many people that are taking up the game that weren't playing before. There are tons of kids that aren't. It's not great that you can't play your team sports, but they're getting into golf here at a really, really high rate. I'm also running into a lot of people that are interested in being able to work on their golf games at home because they, some of the places, driving ranges may be restricted and things like that. So you have people who are spending a little bit of money upgrading their garages or their bonus rooms or their basements, and they're putting in some sort of a swing simulator with a net and a pressure mat and stuff like that. So it's really actually pretty cool. I have a lot of people asking me about launch monitors and all these products and pressure mats and everything. So it's really exciting because now it seems like you have an opportunity to take this strange thing that's going on, changing how people are doing everything, and find a way to still really enjoy the game. And some people get into the game. So from where I'm sitting, things are going really well as far as golf goes anyway. So
I agree. I think it's it's been a really special, cool thing. And I love seeing all these juniors, right? All the kids coming into the game because they can't play team sports. And yes, they can't play team sports, but 20 years from now, they need golf, right? So what a cool thing. I love it.
It's great. Yeah, absolutely. So they can always get into soccer next season, right? But this season, they're going to play golf. So,
absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And that's a good thing. Okay, so I've reached out to a few of my very loyal Tuesday Traces attendees, specifically Jim Altamirano and I have had multiple conversations about this. And what I would kind of like to focus on tonight is during my 14th Tuesday Trace, we learned a lot about traces. We've learned a lot about how the pressure data is presented to us. So what I kind of want to talk about and focus on is now that we know the data and we're seeing it, we're seeing where your feet are, what do we do with that? How do we translate that into distance and power and speed? So that's my first question.
Well, sure. So let's talk about that a little bit. I'm going to grab a driver over here.
Okay.
So, one thing is, of course, we're talking being realistic about it, right? So someone who can throw a baseball a long way tends to be able to hit a golf ball a long way. A big, strong person is going to hit the ball, all things being equal, farther than somebody who weighs less and isn't as strong. So we get the reality part of that out of the way, right? We're good with that part?
Yep,
right?
I agree.
So let's think about this. So first off, I'm going to show you really quick. I'm going to move it over to my iPad, and I'm going to show you the trace of somebody, a regular person, how we see a lot of people take the club back. So if you don't mind, I'm going to do that, Mandy.
Yeah, I would love to see that. We want to see where you're starting. And
okay.
I think the before and after is always super impressive. And I know that you've got some good before and afters. You guys, while we wait for Mike to share his screen, check out his Instagram page, Mike Sullivan Golf, I think is his handle. He uses his pressure mat a lot, inside and outside, and has some really cool before and afters.
And Mandy, Lauren just told me to say something about the handle. What were you saying, Lauren?
M Sullivan Golf.
M Sullivan Golf is what she told me to tell you.
M Sullivan Golf.
Yes.
My marketing team, who's way more efficient than me, will put that in our chat window correctly. Don't worry, Lauren.
Okay, so can you see my screen, Mandy?
Yes, we can. We see a
All right,
before
so
and after.
This is a great guy named Earl. Okay.
Okay.
And I want you to take a look at his swing on the left-hand side over there. Okay. So one of the things Earl is looking to do is get some more distance. All right. Now notice how we're going to start off. We're just going to talk about what he's doing right now. So if you look at it, I'm going to run his swing through first. Okay.
Okay.
So you see what we got. All right. Now I'm going to go ahead and back it up a little bit. Okay. So now take a look at, if you look at that pressure, that, the pressure mat there, the blob on the right is his right foot.
Mike, just so everyone knows, we're looking at the backwards. So we're looking at him face on, but his trace, we're looking at it right foot right, left foot left, right?
Yes, yes. So
Okay.
if you look at that trace, the blob on the right is his right foot. The blob on the left is his left foot. So that's like looking at it in a mirror, like you said. But when you're looking at Earl himself, he looks like a video. So
Right. Just wanted to
these are
make
going to
sure
be
we.
reversed. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yep. Okay, so now watch what's going to happen as he takes the club back, and watch the pressure moving into his back foot. So you can see nothing too dramatic there, right?
Right.
And then what you can see on the way through, certainly nothing dramatic going through.
Right.
All right. Okay. So what's going on here is I'm gonna flip my screen back around again. So give me 1 second. So let's just try to remember that part of it.
Okay. Pretty standard.
Yes, that's very common, right? And so I apologize if everyone already knows what that looks like because they've seen so much of this stuff. But I think it's worth talking about a little bit. So we've got a situation where we got the pressure mat, right? And it's underneath him.
Yep.
And as he's swinging that club, I'm going to wait a second so it finds me like in the middle, right? Now I've got a really little screen I'm looking at there, Mandy. Am I in the middle now?
You're in the middle. Yep. You're calibrated.
Okay, good. All right.
Yep.
So now what we've got basically is kind of this, right? I'm guessing that was not too dramatic of a pressure shift, right?
Nope, not at all.
Okay. And then the way through, we've got this.
Yep.
Right. Okay. So one of the things going on here is, and this is what's happening with a regular person trying to use a tool to hit a ball. They're moving it. They even feel like they're moving it fast, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what's happening is it's not generating the speed that the player wants, and he certainly isn't using a lot of power to generate that speed. Okay. So here's what we're talking about, and this is the thing. So let's pretend that this medicine ball, right? This is like a 6-pound medicine ball, but I'm going to pretend it weighs like 50 pounds.
Okay.
All right. If it weighed 50 pounds, I wouldn't be able to do this stuff with it, right?
No.
Right. So if my club weighed 50 pounds, I wouldn't be able to just do this with it. It would be really, really difficult. It would hurt my wrists.
Right.
Okay. So let's pretend again, we got a sack of cement here, 50-pound sack of cement. And I've got a pickup truck over here, and I want to load this cement bag on top of these previous bags of cement, right?
Okay.
How am I going to do it? What am I going to do? I'm going to hold it here, and I'm going to go here and haul it up there.
Woo, yeah, okay, all right.
So did you see the difference in that pressure shift and that trace than what Earl was doing? Right?
Yes.
So what's going to happen is, and again, let's go back to what you see people doing in their golf swing. So for those of you watching this at home right now, think about this. When you see somebody start to turn back, they can still pick the club up and get up here or here or here without really shifting much pressure back. Okay. And if we press into the ground back here, we have something to kind of push off of and go forward. But it's not just moving back and forth, because if it was just moving back and forth, do I still have pressure? I just stepped on my battery pack. Okay. All right. So get me in the middle. If I just go this way, well, now I have to support all this 50 pounds of concrete. That's going to be really, really heavy.
Right.
So no one is going to do this. So here's what you do. And here's what people do all the time. They don't even know they do it. They sense when the momentum of this weight is about to stop, and they start going forward before it dies out back here. It's the same principle as if you go fishing and you go to if you go to cast a weighted, a sinker out there, you bring it back, you sense when that rod is loading back, and boom, off it goes. And I'll bet you if you're watching my pressure and the math, right?
God,
Okay.
that is,
so
we have said in 14 traces, you got to get your weight to your lead edge faster. But this visual and this thought process and this swing thought to use a heavy weight to visualize that is pretty spectacular.
Right. And here's the thing about it. Like someone asked me in a golf class last night about how to load the club. And I'm thinking, and he's showing what he's doing. And he's talking about starting the downswing. And I said, what do you mean by load the club? And he had a hard time really talking about it. Then I talked about this fishing thing, right?
Yeah.
So if I'm going to make a big old cast, you can see that pressure going forward. I know I probably didn't get it calibrated in the middle, but you can see that pressure moving forward because I'm sensing when that sinker has pretty much, the shaft is pretty much done going back, and then I'm going to go forward.
Get as much power forward.
Yes, right.
Yes.
So back to this thing, again, before this thing gets heavy, boom, I'm getting in my front side. Okay? So what's really neat about this is it's not that it doesn't have to be fast. It doesn't have to be super fast. It's an early pressure shift.
Yep.
Okay? So when you practice with this, what you want to do is you want to, always keep in mind, like, what does a good golf swing really look like and what does it feel like? A good golf swing doesn't really do like this jerky stuff. Right? See, right now I'm not really moving very much, but the pressure's going a lot. All right. So do you remember last time, Mandy, when we took the club up like this?
Yep.
Right.
This is so good. Please do this again. People love this. Yes, this is so good.
So here's the club, right? I'm going to get pressure forward, back. My pressure is ahead of the club head. So this pressure I'm putting into the ground is contributing to momentum in the club. Okay. It is not rare at all, though, for me to show that to somebody, and here's what I get back. Are we in the middle on the mat?
Now you are.
Okay. Here's what I get a lot of. I get a lot of the player having their pressure go with the club instead of going ahead of the club.
Right.
All right. So the moral of the story here, again, on this big heavy thing, on this big sack of cement, here's how you can think about it. A tour player is swinging that light golf club with the same amount of efficiency as the average person would sling a big old 50-pound bag of concrete. And so what we want to do is we want to get our players to basically swing the club like it's a very, very heavy golf club. So one of the things, I don't know if you remember these old training aids here, this thing called the Momentous. It's just a heavy club. So when it's a heavy club, it's kind of it's easier to get the feel of, and I'm going to wait a second to get in the middle.
There you go.
It's easy to get the feel of just that bump forward, back, and forward. And that is huge for people. So this thing that we're talking about with the, with the big heavy bag of cement, this is a drill that Earl and I did the other day. So let's go take a look at his trace after we work like this.
Oh, okay? I love it. I'm so excited. Okay, this will be great. Did you actually tell him the same thought that it's to consider it a cement bag, 50-pound bag, and throwing it in a truck?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay.
Yep, that's it. So now, and he's kind of like, he owns like a business that does work like that. So he gets that, right? So
oh, cool. I wish he was, let me see if I see any
share.
Earls tuned in. We'll have to tell him.
It might be drummer guy or something like that. I did warn him about this, by the way. Share the screen.
I don't see him. But thank you, Earl, for sharing your trace.
And he might have an Earl something email. All right, so let's get back into that. Okay, so can you see my screen again now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so to back up, again on the left-hand side, so basically what's happening was he was kind of moving the club back, the club's moving back, but there's really like a lot of lift in that.
Yeah.
Okay. He's not really using the ground to make anything happen, right? And then on the way down, he's hitting the ball, right? But he's not really, he is definitely not contributing to a lot of extra momentum he's going to get out of that club.
He's like, Mike, you said it. These beginners use the golf club as a tool to hit the ball. And I feel like you're about to tell us how to, in addition, use the ground to help move the ball.
Right. So we're going to use the ground, and we're going to use our feet in the ground to help us create momentum and good centripetal force.
Got it.
So and the way I kind of think it is like, I say to people, a tour player, they're efficient, like they're throwing concrete around, And what most amateurs are doing is they're swinging the club like it's a fly swatter. That's how they're using it, more like that.
Oh my God. Like I said, tour players are using they're throwing a cement bag and we're using a fly swatter. I like that. I'm going to tell some of my tour player friends that.
By the way, like those of us that don't play for a living have a little bit of that fly swatter thing too. So, all right.
Fly swatter versus the cement truck.
Yeah, there you go. Ready? Here we go. So he's going back into his back foot, right? Now look how early he's getting forward. So,
oh yeah, you can see it. You can see it right there.
Pressure going forward.
Yep.
Right. And here's the other beautiful thing. Oh, we didn't hit the ball, so it was so good, right? But this is the road to happy golf days, right there.
Yep.
Is being able to do that.
Yep.
Okay, that's the road to having really, really good happy golf days. So, can I show you another trace real quick here? Is that okay?
Please, yes.
Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and look at Dave here. All right, so okay, so take a look at this. So you can see his trace, right?
Yep.
So again, I'll just remind that the blue blob on the right is his back foot, his right foot, and the blob on the left is his front foot. Okay. So what's going to happen? And this happens a lot. So think about, why is it that people, the pressure mat is, people are using it because they're trying to help people move their pressure correctly, and most people aren't getting it in their front foot enough. What's amazing is, and I'll bet you this has come up to you before, is right when players get to impact, a lot of times they stop putting that pressure solidly into their front foot. Watch this. And then just about getting towards impact, boom, it comes backwards a little bit. See that?
It almost looks like he stands up a little bit. Am I seeing that right?
So he starts to get into his front side, then he kind of hangs back a little bit.
Yep.
Right? Because there's this instinct to try to lift that ball and get it up in the air. Okay. Now I'm going to show you one of our videos here. Well, I'm not sure if he commented it. The best ball he hit all day, though, I'm going to show you that one. Hopefully this is the one. And you can see already that it's probably going to be a better, more linear looking trace.
Yeah, the trace looks super linear.
Right. Now this guy's a really, really good athlete. Played college football, very good at sports, very athletic, right? Mm-hmm. Early in the front side, and he's continuing through. Like it's an improvement. See, he doesn't back up. It just kind of moves down his heel a little bit. Yeah. That was a lot. That was, 15 minutes after that previous one. And that ball was a nice little push draw. Okay.
Awesome.
So both of these guys that we're talking about, I worked with that principle of swinging the club more like you're swinging a really, really heavy club, or the idea about how you would manage the momentum of the club as if it was a bag of cement or heavy bag of sand or something like that.
Okay. So Mike, I want you to get back on your mat. We have a really good question. I think you will probably want to show a visual. Roy Wall, who also likes my glasses. Thank you, Roy. Is asking a question. So how do you not get ahead of the ball with that weight shift? Question mark. Keep the upper body tilted back a bit is his question.
Yes, Lauren, can you tilt that up just a little bit so the head's not so close to the top, right? Okay. So here's what happens, all right? When you look at any player setting up, all right? So when they set up, think about your spine is set up. So when we set up our trail hand, so I'm right hand, and my right hand is on the club lower than my left. So I'm going to tilt this way a little bit.
Okay.
Okay. So as I hold the club, I've got a little bit of this tilt, this side tilt, the secondary spine tilt. Back in the old days, that's what they called it, secondary spine tilt. Okay. So when we go to strike the ball, and if you look at videos of tour players, you're going to see this. If you take note of this, their angle, their spine here, and then on the way down, and then on their impact spine tilt, you're going to see their lower body moves forward. Their upper body, their sternum, also moves forward, but the hips move forward farther than the sternum. It's called side bend at impact. Okay, so what's happening is, and on the traces we always see, we always you never are going to see anybody with pressure all over their toe at impact who's really happy with what they're doing with their irons, especially.
That was my
Okay.
next question is, we get our weight to our lead foot, but
Right.
what about toe versus heel there?
So think about it. So this also brings into, and this also brings into the drill we did last time with the PVC pipe. Okay.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
okay. So was it Dan, the person's name that we're talking to? Roy.
Yeah. Roy Wall.
Okay, Roy. Sorry, Roy. Okay. So we've got this long pipe extending past my hip. All right. If you take a look at what I'm going to do here, that pressure, I'm sure, is going way up in that front foot, right? But I'm not getting way ahead of it right here, because what I'm doing is my lower body is moving forward more than my upper body, and that creates this side bend. We get a teeny bit shorter. It helps us hit the ball before the ground. It helps us take that divot. So that does happen. You know, when you look at a really good player, they're going to be a little bit lower at impact because their hips are moving forward more than their sternum is moving forward, although they're both moving forward. It is very possible, though, to get into like a swing fall situation where you're too far forward at impact. And that's usually because we're not getting enough of the pressure into the back part, more towards the heel of our left foot. We're probably getting a little bit up, too much up in the toe. And again, the thing is about this, one-way information can be kind of dangerous. You know what I mean? Like, it's really good to have somebody watching you have a little back and forth, because sometimes when you're hearing something, it's being interpreted differently. So I would highly recommend, if you've got one of these things, Roy, one of these pressure mats, look and make sure if you think you're getting too far forward that you're not way up in the toe. But that's a very good question, because a lot of people feel like they would be getting too far forward, but in fact, that all day.
So it's more
Too
lateral,
far forward.
right? More lateral than.
Yeah, so you are going to move a little. There is lateral movement, and there's this turning too. This. So it's the same idea as if I was going to throw a ball sidearm, boom, just like that. Skipping a stone, that same exact type of a movement. Not that. And here's where you really get in trouble. If your spine starts coming up this way, you're going to have an over-the-top, out-to-in type of a swing, right?
Right.
So we want to make sure you maintain that side bend as getting that proud is. Like, just feel like I can feel right now, just like I'm skipping a stone. There are all sorts of things we do in sports. We get our pressure on one side, but our mass is on the other side, right? So, for example, if you're, if a football player is running a route and there's a defender in front of them, if they want to move this way, they're going to put pressure into this foot and push off of it. So all my mass is on this side, but my pressure was on that side, just for a moment. Does that make sense what we're doing here? Right?
Yeah, that's good. So that's interesting, mass versus pressure. Say that again, Mike. Let's just review that. That's a totally two different things. Say that again.
Yeah, and I want to preface it by saying when I was first learning about all this stuff and I heard the mass is different than pressure, that I tried to read too much into it. But all it really means is that when we're doing something dynamically, when you're doing a sport, you very often are going to have your mass, say, on one half of your body while your pressure is on the other half. And usually when that's happening, there's something dynamic is happening. So again, like when I go to throw a ball, I can have literally more of my body on my right side, but as my back foot pretty much comes off the ground, I've got the pressure on my left side.
Yep.
The same thing as if somebody was like, if you're ice skating or something, or skiing or running, you're going to push off one side, push off the other. It's very, very common in sports to have your mass on one half of your body, but to have the pressure on the other. And that's the whole thing that we're doing when we're hitting golf shots. Is there's that differential of you're pushing into the ground even though your mass is on the other side. Hope that makes sense. How I said that.
It does.
That makes some sense.
Mike,
one more thing about that, Mandy. I'm sorry.
Yes.
One more thing.
Yeah.
When you see slow pressure movement, that's usually when you see the pressure moving because of mass. So if you look at my pressure right now, if I go slow like this, right? Or if I move my whole mass, that pressure is moving kind of slow, right? Even though I feel like I'm moving quickly, but I can do this and I can get that thing going crazy.
Yeah. I like that visual that you just did, because that's like the winding up. I feel like the winding up gets so much power, right? When you go, that's like, how do you say that? But what your visual you just did, it's clear.
Yeah.
You get so much more power by doing that.
And what's funny also about speed, here's the other thing. The big wind turbines that they supply power, they're out in the middle of nowhere. Well, long story short, we were flying a drone out there in one of those things a few years ago, and we met the owner of the property who let us do it. And he said, be careful. He says, because that windmill, the tip of that windmill is going 100 miles an hour. But the actual center is going really slow, right? So when you're swinging your driver trying to get all this speed, you can only go so fast right there. There's only so much speed you're going to get. So if you think you're going to do something to make all this go faster, you're really going to slow the club head down, right? So we got to make sure we realize that the driver's the lightest club in the bag and it's the longest. So let that long lever benefit you some. You don't have to get all this. And again, this is the guys that aren't transferring pressure real well. Those guys are transferring pressure.
Yeah.
Sorry, I cut off your question.
Well, my question was unrelated. You know so much about other sports. Did you play other sports other than golf?
Well, I mean, loved playing baseball, especially, and football.
Yeah.
Loved watching it. I've had conversations with students over the years about, and I always try to relate a sport that another student has played, or even if they played a musical instrument, I relate it to learning how to play golf, because they're all really similar. And in those conversations, it's caused me to do some research on stuff like that. So, yeah.
Very cool. So when we're moving our weight to trying to get it forward faster, do I need to think about weight on my toes versus my heels? Or do we?
Well, so here's what I found works best with that, Mandy. That's where having the mat, the screen helps so much. So with my students, we spend a lot of time with my students on the mat. And I take, just as the iPad is set up right here in this video, I take the iPad, I face them. So they're looking right at their own pressure. And by the way, like if anyone doesn't know how this works, this thing here is just the video screen, and I can shrink it or I can make it larger. So I'll take this thing and make it really large so that all they see is their pressure. And then what I'll do is I'll have them get on the mat. Okay, so now I'm in the middle, and I have them first just get a sense of like, okay, let's get that ball moving back and forth. But usually they have a hard time with it, or they're doing it like this, right?
Right.
So then after a while, they start learning how it works for them. So when I first got this thing, and it's funny, even to this day, because I don't get a chance to practice like I should, I don't always demonstrate the trace I want to demonstrate, because when I first got on it, it wasn't what I did not like it. So I worked on it to get better at it. So a lot of the stuff that I put my students through, like the learning process I put them through, is a learning process I went through myself. So that's what I did, is I got that screen looking at me to say, okay, what is going on with this thing? And then as you see it and you do it, you see an instant reaction to what you're doing physically, and you can learn from that. And that's another thing I like about this so much. One of the things we teach our kids is we teach them at the end of their swing, I want you to tap your back toe like this. So that's what I've been doing for years with kids to try to get them to get pressure into their front side, is I'm telling them, okay, let's set up, we have a Y, the shaft and two arms, make a Y, L, backwards L, tap the toe.
Right.
So now though, we can, and by the way, yes, I do with adults too. Yeah. But now what we can do is we can move past that pretty quickly and show them the real importance of what's going on as far as getting the pressure back and getting the pressure through. And almost every time they think they can't do it at first, and they're completely, I can sense the lack of confidence in what's going on in the whole process. But what's amazing is, like, once they hit the one shot where pressure is all in that front side, it's a total different sound. It's a total different feeling for the player. I mean, it is amazing what that does for people, especially
that is so
if
cool.
people aren't moving that pressure. Yeah.
That's so, watching you be excited about that for your student is why I'm excited about it. It's really cool. It's pretty special.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm curious I love that visual, and I love seeing it with you, with the club, and how if you keep the club moving with you. Do you ever do that with students? Do you give that?
All the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, everything we're talking about, like Lauren's probably sitting over the board of all this. Like everything we talk about this is just a regular hour for me. This is exactly how I do it with students. Yeah.
I love it. And you use the mat with all your students?
I mean, there might be one or two maybe that we don't, but yeah, pretty much. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I know Lauren's into fitness. Do you send students off with fitness exercises? I mean, other than your medicine ball, which I love, and I think that visual of the concrete truck is awesome. What kind of fitness things are you guys doing to get more power?
So we also work with a fitness company called Fit Golf. That some of my students work with them, and they're TPI certified, and he's actually a licensed physical therapist and all that, and a sports trainer. So usually though, what I have found, this is a little more anecdotal for me, Pilates and yoga are two things that are amazingly good for golf and for life. So if there's anyone watching this right now who's home that isn't getting out and doing things where they should, boy, if you can do some yoga and some Pilates at home, that is going to help you out a ton. And it's one of the reasons it's going to help you with your body awareness.
Yeah.
Right? So when we're doing, and this is one of the things that you just through experience working with people over the years, it's one thing to show somebody something, and it's one thing for them to conceptualize and understand what you're doing, but it's another thing to learn how to do it if you don't have the awareness of your body, right? So doing yoga helps you get that awareness. So the poses you'll do in yoga can help somebody be able to, okay, I'm going to set up like this, and I'm going to take my shoulders and turn them 90 degrees to my spine, and then let my hips go. That's not easy for someone who's never moved their body independently. So that's just one of the things I love about that. And then the core benefits and the strength of Pilates is just super. I'm saying this in front of Lauren. She's going to probably want to work me out now.
I love it. We have a good question. And I like this question from Al Marn, who's watched a ton of my traces. Thank you, Al, for joining me every Tuesday. Al asked, to get the feel of your toe/heel balance at approximately 50-50 with 55 to 60% on lead foot at address, would it be helpful to close your eyes to get a better sense of weight distribution? Let me ask that one more time. To get a feel of your toe-heel balance at approximately 50-50 with 55 to 60 on the lead foot at address. Al wants to know if closing your eyes makes that gives you a better sense of weight distribution.
That's going to be different for the person. There are so one thing that I found is generally the better the athlete, the better the balance. So there are some people who, if you stood them up here like this and just lifted up one leg and they closed their eyes, like already I started to feel like I was losing my balance. Some people I think that would be very different based upon the person. That would be very, very different based upon the person. And the other thing that I would say is, feel is not real. So whenever we bring someone in on this mat, they usually set up with a lot of weight on their back foot. And then I show them that we need to be, 55% or even 60% on the front foot. And they can't understand. They think that the mat is broken. And then by the end of the lesson, I can't get them off of their 80% in their front foot, and they feel like they're even. So feel is not real, and some kind of a feedback device is definitely helpful. I do understand that everybody in the world who plays golf isn't going to get one of these things, and I want to be as helpful as I can without having to do that. But there are some things that some sort of a measuring device is going to give you. And in my own experience, like I've got students, I'm thinking one who's here last night, who last week I said, hey, we got to just start off a little bit more weight in that front foot. Well, that guy can put on the mat, and then boom, we can get them there. So,
love that.
And heel toe, I got to tell you, to get heel toe 50-50 and then 55 left or 55 front, I just don't see anyone nailing it like that very often. So I don't think it has to be super. It doesn't have to be exact, that's for sure. But close would be nice.
Another thing to me, using the weight to get or using my body and the ground to get that cement into that truck seems like a lateral thing I can wrap my mind around. But getting all the weight in my heel that quickly, it's too much. I can't like think that fast, right?
Yeah, well, you learn it though. You learn how to do that. And the other thing too is what I like about that cement bag thing is you don't see a lot of people picking up the cement bag and doing that.
Right.
They don't reverse pivot. They tend to do. It's easier for them to have a good pivot when they do that too. You know, so I was going to say one other thing about the heel toe and all that stuff. If you check your setup too, sometimes if you take a video of yourself and look how you're setting up to the ball, or even if you take a lesson, just specifically ask the instructor to take a look at the setup. That can be a lot of times a professional can visually look at somebody and see that their weight distribution is off. And I wish I had a better answer than closing the eyes might work or might not. But
no, that it's nice to hear your feedback. Alex Clapp and I were talking last week about the benefits of taking your shoes off on the mat. And sometimes how, if you can really feel your feet on the mat and really that might be more helpful. And he does that. I did that one night on a trace because I just wasn't wearing shoes in my living room. And we were doing some interesting things and I could just really feel some different feels. But I do think that's different for all people, for sure.
Practicing with no shoes on, like I played for a few weeks without shoes because my feet were really bothering me, and I just played golf barefoot. Yeah. And it didn't bother me. But I've seen some other, it'll help you swing overall. If you can hit balls or play barefoot, that's a pretty good sign. So I think that's a great thing for anybody to try to get into. And maybe not playing like I was, but.
And two things. So if I do have a mat and I'm trying to get as much pressure to my lead side as fast as I can, am I just trying to get as much as I can? Am I trying to get 100%? What am I shooting for there? What's the percentage?
Different clubs might be a little bit different for each person. Okay. If you're going to be hitting a driver where the ball is teed up, you may see where because of the way you're driving into your front foot, you may have more pressure in your back foot than you would expect. From where I'm at, talking to people that are not tour players using this thing, what I would say is early pressure, and I would say the overwhelming abundance. We don't see many really good ball strikers who are like 60% on their front side when they're hitting like a full iron shot. So for the most part, most people do need to try to get all of it over there. But then again, just like that other question that came in, you can get it all over there the wrong way. Like you could just do that. We don't want that. It's going to be that way. So you never want to put all your eggs in one basket where all you want to do is focus on the mat, or all you want to do is focus on the club face, although club face is a good one. You never want to just only worry about one thing. You have to put it all together.
Right.
And one of the things, Mandy, when I talk about the club face, we didn't really talk about that tonight, but when a player has an open club face, they are setting themselves up to have a bad pressure shift. And so the number one flaw that people have is an open club face.
Because they have to fix it too fast? Is that why?
Say that again.
When you say that if they have an open club face, they have a bad trace, is that because they have to fix the club face too fast to get the ball in the right place?
So if your club face is open,
yeah.
Okay. If your club face is open, and your brain is going to want to square it this way, like over the top.
Yep.
This way. See what I'm doing here?
Yep. Backing up.
So this happens all the time is that open club face players in a practice swing, yeah, they can do pretty good. But when they're hitting a ball, they always have that little giddy up thing, that little like EKG, like that little skip right at impact where they come back a little bit because they're trying to shut that face. So I had a student in here earlier tonight just before our webinar. And we worked, his club face was just a little bit open. His club face just a little bit open coming down this way. And that club face does not match up with being able to get through your front side really well. So the first thing we did was work on the club face. So we spent like 15, 20 minutes just working on him. And it's a sense of it. It's paying attention to it. Just paying attention to that club face so that they can be incentivized to get through this way. Does that make sense if I say that?
Yes.
So that club face is more closed, you're incentivized to get there. If it's open, it's going to be more that way. So, you know, you do always want to make sure that that club face is doing what you think it's going to do. And so that translates before the club face. If the club face is open, you got to check the grip. Usually, you know, the average person that comes in, they tend to have a grip that is an open face grip. So we want to make sure the grip is not going to encourage an open club face. And one thing, this goes back old school way. You talk to an old school professional who has experience but doesn't have access to any of this stuff. A lot of times they can look at someone's swing and predict what their grip is, or they can look at someone's grip and tell you what the swing is going to look like, because your grip really does influence everything after that. So we got to make sure that, you know, your 4 pre-swing fundamentals are really on point, which would be grip, ball position, posture, and alignment. We want to make sure that those 4 things are really always on point, so that we're incentivized to make a good pressure shift, to make good traces.
That's so great. God, if all the people, the hundreds of people over there are not signing up for lessons with you, I don't know what they're doing. I learn so much every time every time I visit with you. We have about 10 or 12 minutes left. Do you want to look at another couple of videos, traces?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So
I love showing off your before and afters in the software with real students.
All right, so let's
and I'm sure Jim Altamirano is probably trying to find a cement bag right now. Or
good for him. That would be great.
He does every drill live as we do Tuesday traces.
That's awesome. He's got a mat then?
He does. He has a mat. He got a mat probably
Awesome.
early spring, and so he has always sort of tuned in, and he's a really good golfer, and I really he's a buddy, and he cuts up with me, and he's just chatting with me. Yes, he is doing our drills, and he always gives me really good feedback on, you know, new cool things that he's looking to.
By the way, are you on my screen right now? By any chance?
Yep.
Can you see this?
I
See what
can
I'm looking at right now?
Grace Buchanan.
See the ball?
Look at that. There's the ball. I love it.
Yeah,
That's
there it
awesome.
is, right? So let's see what's going on before that.
That is so cool.
All right, let's see what this was.
And Jim's pulled out his medicine ball. Awesome.
Now notice here, so here's a positive thing to look at, okay?
Yep.
So this is what we were talking about before. So notice how her pressure is moving forward into her front foot. Actually moving down towards the heel. You can see in general what's going on. So she's getting a lot better, doing a lot of things that are right. And have you've heard of that whole early extension type of thing going on with people? Are you familiar with that term?
Yep.
Right? Watch this. Like, so she's not having that going on at all, right?
Nice.
But look right here. So here we are at setup, right?
Yep.
So right now we're 40 left, so 40 front, 60 rear, 60 back. Not a lot of pressure going back, is there, right? And now it's starting to go forward.
That is so good.
Okay, but look what's happening is, so she's going back and then she's starting to go forward a little bit. See that?
Yep.
So she's into her front foot, but now she's going to get back. Now the club's going forward as her pressure is going backwards.
Oh, yeah.
Does that make sense right here?
Yep.
So that's what we don't want. So now what's happening is, like, if she had that big old bag of cement, that wouldn't be working out for her right there.
Right.
And then she hits the ball, she still has a long way to go as far as getting the pressure through. So then we worked with the ball. All right, so now we're working with the 50 pounds. And here I made her dad catch the ball, right? So her dad was catching, right? So she's back. Through. Right? See that pressure all in our front foot?
Yep. That is so cool
right.
to see that pressure with that drill. I love it.
Yeah, so this is an example where there was something pressure-wise really going on that was kind of backwards, right? With her backswing. that she completely changed
Wow.
through throwing that ball. And look at that finish. So, and at the end, you know, she's got her hips on top of her front leg. Everything is turned through, nice and balanced. She could stand there forever, right?
That's amazing.
So Mandy, this is the type of thing that we were always teaching the kid. Hey, kids, you know, tap your back toe at the end.
Yep.
And this is a more, you know, this is a more specific way to talk about it, where we're really showing actually what's going on. Look at that. That is just great.
That is so great. It's so good. That is so good. So do you have her after Trace after the ball?
Let's take a look. And the other thing to remember about all the like the before and after stuff is this is real. This isn't like a commercial or anything. This is really how things go. So here we go. So now she's swinging the heavy club. So remember we talked about she's going to look at her going back now. Look at that.
What?
See? So we progressed from the ball to now saying, okay, well, we don't have a golf club that weighs 100 pounds, but this is a lot heavier, right?
Yep.
So it goes back, ready? So what's going to happen, Mandy, she's sensing that shaft bending, and she's going to get pressure going forward before that club releases, right?
That is so good.
Through. Yeah, really good. And that's the first day working with that.
I love it.
That's the first day working with that. I don't know if I got her hitting a ball really after or not.
Well, I totally put you on the spot here, so.
Yeah, it's okay. And you know, hey, I got LASIK surgery a little while ago, and I love it, but I can't see anything up close. So
Oh God.
the thumbnails aren't helping me too much.
I feel your pain. I had to get new glasses recently because I couldn't see anything.
Yeah, so that's great. So she's doing great. Oh, reading glasses. Okay.
That is so awesome.
Yeah.
I love this.
And then real quick, let's find one more here. Oh, here we go. So this is last time that we did this, Mandy. This was Hugh. We brought Hugh in last time.
You go back.
Okay.
He was back the other night.
Yep.
Okay. So here's Hugh, right? So backswing, did a great job going back, right? Now
Yep.
and the thing is, and this is good for everyone to know, just because you get it right one day doesn't mean you're going to keep it. You got to keep working on it. All right. So he's making his backswing. On the way down, he's done moving forward right there. Do you see that?
Yep.
And then through impact, he's falling into his back foot, helps to close the face, add loft, all that stuff. And then he goes through. So we want to get out of that. So you look on the left, 50-pound bag of concrete right there. So watch what he's doing. He pushes in the front foot, pushes in, look at all the weight that he's got in his back foot.
Yep.
And now he's going to go ahead and load into the front foot again.
Oh, this is such a cool thing to trace to watch. This is, if everybody's
this
not
is
doing
his
this
actual
real
lesson.
tomorrow.
Pressure moving
Video.
forward like that. To hurl.
So
You
good.
already have
I mean,
all
it's
the weight on your
87,
front foot right there.
90, I
And
think I'm
that's the
seeing
idea
like
we wanna have
87,
on this
93 or something percent pressure there.
So here he's 100 back, right?
Yes.
And then he's, looks like 98.2 right there.
What? Look at that.
Okay.
Amazing.
Yeah. And all I did was I talked to him about throwing that bag of concrete into the back of a pickup truck.
Perfect.
And it's just a huge
Perfect.
difference. Let's see if I have him hitting a ball here.
Mike, I always sort of joke when I sell pressure mats after a trace that I'm going to include a favor with the shipment. So I've joked about sending, tennis balls and
Here we go. Ready?
those PVC pipes and all sorts of things.
Yeah.
You think the team would fuss at me if I said we should send cement bags with the pressure mat?
Yes. Hey, look at this, Mandy. Watch this one. Ready?
Is this the after?
Back foot.
This is after.
Front foot.
See the
No
difference?
way.
Okay.
There it is.
Oh my God, I love
I mean,
it.
you missed it, but that's okay.
Okay. So it's dramatic, and so now Hugh, he's a busy guy, and he hasn't had a chance to work on things too much. So it really does come all around to being able to practice as well. So if you've got one of these pressure mats, right, and you don't necessarily need, by the way, you don't necessarily need to have an indoor hitting area to use something like this. So could you
Right.
tilt it up a little bit again? So this, I know you're selling it and all that stuff, but the mat is totally portable. So there's no wires hooked up to it. So it would be very easy for someone to take this with them to the range for practicing full swing, bunker shots. We didn't even talk about putting or chipping. I started off with my putter over here today because I had a student here today who, more of a beginning golfer, but whenever he would putt, there was this obviously shifting back and through like this, right? So we put him on the mat to get him more steady on one side, and you see the pressure on the front side, and be able to watch himself on the screen so that he would be able to stay more centered in his putting. So this is something that would be really useful for people to have. One, you could do drills indoors with it, but you can practice with it obviously outdoors, and you can putt with it indoors and all that other stuff. So, and then I'm not trying to sell your product here too much, but
I know, I was about to say, you're doing such a good job of talking about how awesome my pressure mat is. I love it.
And then the other thing about it is, like, this mat, I'll be conservative and say 30 lessons a week on the mat. So in a week, this thing probably gets more hours of use than the average person would be able to use it in many, many, many months, right? And it's still going strong. So as far as longevity of an investment, that's going to be there as well too. So
How about that? See there, you can pay for it in what, a month?
who, as an instructor?
I'm just kidding.
Oh, no.
30 lessons a week. Really quick, one more question before we wrap up. Greg Tart asked how heavy the ball is that you were throwing. Was it 6
Hey,
pounds?
Greg, how are you? Greg, I know Greg. That ball is only like 6 pounds, but this is really more of a, it's not important how much this ball weighs. What's important is that you put in your mind that you're holding something that weighs like 50, 60 pounds, right? So I can do it without anything and get the same sort of a result out of it. But that happens to weigh 6 pounds. So
I'll tell you, one time I was at the Pebble Beach Golf Academy and VJ Singh and Danny his caddy were there. And they were taking impact bag and they had stuffed it full with towels. And VJ was just hitting it just for, practice. But that would be a way to take your cement bag drill and stuff it with towels and then throw it across the room, right?
we were doing that today. Yeah, I've got them stacked up over through the impact bags. Yeah. So,
everyone will be tearing their golf studios apart after our trace tonight. Greg Tart says to tell you hi. And he is ready for you to work with his Magic Me and son, Gabe.
Yeah. We're looking forward to getting you guys back out here. That would be great. His son,
Awesome.
Gabe's a good player. So
That's awesome. I'm sure most of your students are good players.
Of course.
Well, that is our 8 o'clock moment and the end of our Tuesday Traces. Mike, as usual, thank you so much for your amazing drills. I love all the things that you leave us with. And certainly the visual of the drill tonight is super impactful, and everyone's saying thank you for all the great information. So thank you for your time tonight, and I really appreciate it. And how can we find you if we want to have a lesson with you?
Well, thanks for having me on. I would just Google Mike Sullivan Golf in Raleigh. That's an easy way. Website is sullivangolf.net, and I do remote coaching, by the way, as well. So if you go to that website, sullivangolf.net, you can go ahead and get in touch with me and do remote coaching. So I've got some people all over the world we're working with. So that's fun too. So thank you. And thanks for having me. It was great to be asked, and then it was even better to be asked again.
Well, there were so many people that came to us via email and made comments about the first one. I've really enjoyed learning from you. So thank you for that. You're always so up for it. I love it. And I know you work your butt off teaching all day. So thanks for staying up late for me. And I hope you don't freeze getting home. It is freezing in the Carolinas today.
Warm up the car. We got a new car, the remote start when you warm it up.
There you go. Thanks so much. Thank you, Lauren. I'll see you guys soon.